requires no skill and is RNG, yet you never explain your reasoning during this video. If you think your points are self-evident, I don't see why you don't just explain yourself.
One.
You fucked up. No, 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 no!
50 DPS. It's not that hard to play around. I don't think I've ever heard a serious complaint about damage orb from a high-ranked player.
And he seems like a nice guy, which is good. He seems like somebody who's actually gonna have like a fair conversation. So I'm absolutely willing to have it. He seems like a respectable dude, so. Well, this is a response to my video, so whatever, we're gonna put it on here. Okay.
I have played Moira since she was released. The main reasons I chose to main her is that I really like her lore and character design. She is a super prickly support and is often underestimated. This video is not meant to bash Samito for coming after my favorite healer, I just want to clear up some misinformation. Many of Samito's points seem to be coming from an emotional response rather than a logical one.
Okay. First of all, a lot of respect to Tesla for sitting down and making a video and actually like being really nice and professional about that at the start. Like, that's a lost art that many people don't have, so actually mad props. Mad props to Tesla for. And you know what? It's perfectly fair. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand this, but my points about Moira is like, I don't think the hero doesn't belong in the game, right? Like, I think that Moira and Brig and Mercy as characters bring like a unique playstyle to a first-person shooter that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else, and they do belong in the game. It's just how the abilities like function is the main issue that I have.
Also, you touch on the idea that Moira doesn't require mechanical skill. I will say that Moiras without good mechanics will never make it past Diamond. While she can still provide value without having perfect mechanics, Moira's effectiveness is greatly improved with good aim. I will touch on this throughout the video.
Okay. So for one, me being in plat, like for this video, the reason why it was on a plat account or like an unranked GM account is just because it was the easiest way for me to do this video. I wanted to do the video sometime within the series, but the point of my video was about the mechanics and the requirements of her kit. It doesn't matter what rank, like or you know, skill rating that player is. My issues were with the fundamental design of the kit, and that's what I brought up. It doesn't matter if it's a top 500 in plat or a bronze in top 500. At the end of the day, we're looking at it from a neutral standpoint, as if ranked, like no rank is involved. It's just the bare bones abilities on the kit. That was the main point that I made.
You say the damage orb does not fit a support's kit, has no skill, and is pretty much all RNG. Have you considered that supports need damage abilities to be able to balance out their kit and provide utility beyond healing?
No, okay, yes I have, okay? Yes I have. Each support has something that they're unique for, right? And they all have a drawback to their kit. For example, if a support's gonna have a lot of damage, take Zen, okay? What is the drop off to Zen's kit for having damage and long range healing? It's that he's very vulnerable. He's very diveable, right? There's a distinct drop off to each of these kits. I'm not saying support should be useless against damage heroes. I never said that once. That's a misconception that I don't think you came to, but many other people do, okay? The thing is with Moira, why you can't say that is that she is a heal bot. That's what her character is designed to be, right? She's supposed to be a healer that can put out a ton of healing while having a ton of mobility, sustain, and escapability, okay? Moira cannot have, okay, not even just Moira. No character in that category should be able to do all three things, damage, sustain, and heal, right? While I consider like escapability to be a part of sustain, all on one kit. That's not balanced. Moira Fade is a 6-second cooldown. Moira's utility comes from her ability to enable brawl comps, sustain, and massively heal them at the same time. The fact that she has the damage orb is too much for a kit that already is really easy compared to her other counterparts. In order for a support character to be able to do damage, they need to have other drop-offs. Moira has none in comparison to the other categories or the other kits in her category. And it's not even comparable, it's not even close.
You claim that damage orb requires no skill and is RNG, yet you never explain your reasoning during this video. If you think your points are self-evident, I don't see why you don't just explain yourself.
Do I have to explain this? Like, look at this.
Yeah.
You fucked up. She's dead. Do I have to explain this ability taking no skill? No, that explains itself. She's dead. It bounces off 20 walls. The player had absolutely no influence on this. This is a ridiculously stupid ability. The player was dead. The player got outplayed, but since the ability is so easy to use and not aim intensive and all luck based, it still rewarded that player with an elimination on me as a support. This is self-justified. Like, I shouldn't even have to bring this up. You're a Moira player. You know how many lucky bullshit kills you get from orbs, right? You can't tell me that you've never blindly thrown orbs. Like, this happens consistently every game. A random ass Moira orb will be flying around where, you know, where the Moira is like across the map and it'll kill you. It's for this exact reason that Scatter got removed from the game, aside from its burst, right? Because here's the thing, like if they really wanted to keep Scatter in the game, they could have just nerfed the burst damage, right? But instead it got removed because so many people were dying to bullshit Scatter arrows, which I agree with. Like that version of Scatter was stupid, but there's no need to justify, like, there is no justifying this ability. No. Anyway, whatever.
My experience in top 500, orbs must be precisely aimed and thought out in order to get maximum effectiveness. When throwing an orb, I have a primary reason for the orb, but I also think about how the orb will continue to provide use if it is not depleted with its initial use.
That's fair. That's right. I agree 100%. Like, you do have to think about where this orb is going to go. That being said, compared to other abilities in the support category, what's required of you to do that is simply a thought. Zero mechanics. In my opinion, Moira's Kit will be fine if this damage orb gets reworked or removed. Maybe just have it give her more healing instead of doing damage. But the fact that it charges her ult so quickly as well. Like, I'm not saying Moira should be nerfed to the ground, but that damage orb doesn't fit her kit and it's not healthy for the game.
Orbs are also great tools to ward off some ultimates, and I often save them in anticipation of enemy abilities. These small things may seem trivial, but this is what separates good Moiras from mediocre ones.
No, that's 100% true. That's 100% true, but that has nothing to do with whether or not these abilities are healthy for the game and they should be on Moira's Kit. You're absolutely right. You have to use your abilities properly to get value. And there definitely is, like, the Moiras at the highest level play, like, know how to use these orbs, 100%. But my problem is not with that. My problem is with the orbs themselves, not players' ability to use them.
Her ult does charge fast, but it is not unsimilar from Ana's ult or other DPS ults in terms of charge rate.
Whoa! Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Moira's Coalescence is the fastest charging ultimate in this game. You as a Moira player should know this. Moira's Coalescence has been, and especially in this meta, even more so, one of the fastest charging, the fastest charging ultimate in the game.
A lot of time for the
so okay, let's look at this clip, okay? 12% making the first rotation. Their team has not even made it through. Their DPS are in, their tanks aren't even there, okay? 12%. Let's look at this. We'll see.
Not a lot of time for the shot. You know, you're really looking
and granted, this is Moira at her max potential, to be fair.
At best, depending on how they go.
But
had like multiple false starts on their attack trying to get
he's at 60%. It's been like 10 seconds. 70%, 80%, 90%. He used it. He got that ultimate in 18 seconds. 18 seconds. Ana can do nothing comparable to this. Okay? Ana cannot do anything comparable to this. Now, to be fair, yes, this is Overwatch League. This is Overwatch League, like, that's absolutely fair, but the point still stands. It's not even close.
While it is a good idea to throw orbs to the side of Sigma, in most cases, getting Sigma to use his kinetic grasp early in a fight with an orb is a really good trade-off. I sometimes try and bait it, so if a Reaper is looking for a good Death Blossom, he'll be able to get it off.
Okay, that's a fair point. However, that doesn't address the fact that the damage orb is still a silly ability. Like, you're talking about actual usages of the ability, which I agree with you on. Like, if you force the Sigma ult, that's a good play with the ult. Like, there's no doubt you know how to use the kit. But again, my issue is not with people knowing how to use the kit. My issue is with the kit itself, which you haven't mentioned. You might mention it later in the video, but you have not mentioned a single point about the actual kit being stupid. Damage orb as an ability should not exist on Moira the way it is right now. Nothing about that has been addressed. Just throw orbs in their general...
A few things here. No, you also healed a bit for that ult charge. You seem astounded at the fact that you already have 30% ult in 23 seconds into the game. This is not uncommon for many heroes in this game. Getting ult charge from spamming slightly aimed shots down long sightlines is also not uncommon.
Okay, but here's the thing, okay? I've gotten this ult charge with literally zero mechanics at all, none. Like, this is essentially free value, and that's the problem, okay? And that's why I think if Damage Orb gets removed or reworked, Moira's Kit will be fine. I don't want her nerfed any more than that because then she won't be viable at all, okay? The way I got the ult charge is fundamentally different. Damage, and you're comparing damage heroes to support heroes as well, which is two fundamentally different things. Support should get their ults mostly from healing, aside from, you know, a couple exceptions like Zenyatta, whose, you know, utility is his damage, right? But the drop off to that damage is that the fact that he's very diveable, okay? Moira is not like that. She has all this utility and all these things that she can get value from, all of them very bare minimum mechanics, which is the problem. It's not the issue that I'm getting this ult quickly, okay? It's that it's the way that I got it. It's the kit carrying the player, not the player's mechanics bringing out the latent ability in the abilities. I hate to see, you know, abilities in the abilities, LOL, but you know, that's the issue.
You mentioned that nothing you have done here required mechanics, yet you are 70% to an ultimate. This could be said about any main healer in the game. Every main healer in this game does not require intense mechanical skill to heal with. Mercy, Ana, Baptiste are all very easy to rack up heals with.
Ana is literally a shooter character! You have to aim to heal! You have to aim! That is what mechanics literally are by definition in a first-person shooter game. You have to aim! Dude, you're smarter than this. This is gibberish. This means you don't even know what mechanics are. If this is what you think, I'm sorry to put you on blast. I promise you, I'm not trying to do so. But you have no idea what you're talking. You don't even know what mechanics are. Like, mechanics are hitting the skill shots. That's what they are by definition. To say that other main healers don't require mechanics when they all require aim and good positioning and cooldown management, with their cooldowns being twice as long as Moira's, generally speaking, right? Like, they are literally twice as demanding to do the same.
Remember that you're playing at a skill rating almost 2,000 SR below your own. Not to mention, you are not even on fire at the end of this team fight. You did not contribute to this team fight as much as you think you did.
Like, dude, okay, on fire time has nothing to do with this. See, here's the thing. This whole time, you have not once addressed the point, my main point, which is that Moira's Kit is too easy while being too good, specifically because of the damage orb, okay? This is what the Moira players are gonna do, chat. They're gonna beat around the bush, and they're never gonna head on answer the question, do you think Moira is too good while requiring very little? These abilities do the work for the player. Period, end of story, okay? Like, you can go on about me being in plat or diamond, wherever, I think this was like low diamond, whatever. You can go on about how I performed in the fights, but the one thing they refuse to address is the bare-bone nature of Moira's Kit, which was the entire point of this video. I guarantee you right now, it will not be addressed once this whole time. My gameplay will be critiqued, my decision-making will be critiqued, how I actually use the abilities, not whether or not the abilities are too good for being too easy. And in the next fight, I've already started charging my ult again, because their Sigma's never eating my stuff, right?
Well, yes, that is how ult charge works. You got some spam damage in on the players trying to regroup and are now at 30% to your next ultimate. Nothing out of the ordinary.
What's out of the ordinary and the problem is that I've just thrown a damage orb in their general vicinity. I don't actually have to hit them in the head. I don't actually have to, you know, like, hit my skill shots to get value. I throw the orb, it goes through shields, and as long as they are within a certain radius of that orb, my aim could have been off. But as long as they are in a certain radius of that orb, it will continuously do damage, so I get the max ult charge from it, okay? It's too forgiving of an ability. I didn't do anything that should justify me getting that ult charge. All I did was look in their general direction and hurl that sucker. Sam, your criticism is irrelevant as you're not on fire. Not wrong, chat.
I actually agree with some of the stuff you're saying here. Moira is very good in a 2-2-2 environment. She will always have tanks to heal up in order to get ult charge really fast, and her ult is very hard to deal with against supports other than Moira. This meta was indeed a buff to Moira.
And to be fair, the reason why Moira got much better is Coalescence is much better against 2 supports rather than 3. So in the Goat's Mirror, like if the Brig and the Lucio both have their healing up, like the Cole wouldn't actually do anything, right? But if one of those heroes were dead, then the Cole could get value, which is why you only saw Moira running Goats against triple DPS comps with Pharmacy, because then she could get her ult really fast and then call the Pharmacy out of the sky. That was the win condition for Goats with Moira Goats, like on Koth maps that you would see a lot in Overwatch League. Let's keep going. I can't tell if this is like my YouTube or his like video.
That is mostly because you're playing super passive for a top 500 DPS player. You are playing in plat, so you do not have to provide the same value that a Moira in top 500 has to provide. You are sailing through this game on your general game sense that you applied to Moira. Of course Moira will seem brainless when you literally don't have to think about decision making because you are playing at a lower rank. Also, if you were to try and stretch your mechanics to the limit, you would see your value to these fights greatly increase. One thing I have noticed is that you switch targets way too much when you are using DPS. Staying on one target will secure solo kills rather than what is going on here. During this team fight, your DPS and tanks are contributing a lot to the wins. It's foolish to ignore this.
Game. Yeah, no, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I hate to sound like a broken record. First of all, I appreciate the Moira tips, but again, the point of this video is about Moira being too easy for too much value compared to other heroes in her category. This is not being addressed once. Not once, dude.
While it may seem that you are not applying mechanical skill here, you are a skilled player who already has good aim. From what I have seen so far, you are using aim I would not expect from a plat support player.
Like as Ana or any other character, look at this, my crosshair is not even fucking on her, bro. Editor, zoom in on this shit. It's literally not on her. Any other character misses this, but because I threw my orb, which by the way, I threw from fucking back here, play it back. I threw that orb like seconds ago and I still kill her. I've done nothing of value. I've already farmed almost another Coalescence. Like, that takes no skill. Just spamming my abilities. None. How does that go through Moira players' heads? I don't get it. How do you not see that that's the problem people have with your kid? And I'm on fire now, Moira players, so my opinion matters. Take that.
Once again, this is a really poor example of why Moira is busted. I almost have my ultimate because I was just spamming my abilities. What other heroes could you say this about?
None! Literally none! Because other freaking characters require mechanical skill to get the latent power out of the abilities on that kit. But with Moira, simply using the skill gives you all the value. You don't have to have skill to get latent ability out of an ability in a game that is ability reliant and ultimate reliant. Like, ultimates have been nerfed so much from release because they're so powerful and impactful. It's a snowball effect, starting with the damage orb. Right? You consistently use an ability on a 9-second cooldown that will automatically get you 9 to 10% of your ult charge if you throw it into a team most of the time. And even if it misses, it bounces back. That is inherently overpowered. In order for an ability to be overpowered, you have to weigh the amount of skill it requires to get value from it to its effectiveness, okay? Moira requires nothing from this ability and gets max value. That is poor balance and overpowered, and it needs to be reworked or removed. You can't just blind spam on other characters consistently and say, oh, well, since Moira does it, other characters do it too, so therefore it's fine. Like, I can't think of another character in the game that can do what this ability does. None of them do. The only thing that was close to that was Scatter. And even Scatter was less forgiving than that when you were blind spamming it down corridors. Old Scatter was stupid, so before people were like, oh my god, he's okay with Scatter and not this. No, old Scatter was pretty stupid. They cheat the system, essentially. Like, what I'm doing right now is literally cheating the system, so I just get free value. I'm not fragging out, I'm not doing anything mechanically demanding, I'm just existing and using my abilities.
It might seem like that to you, but there are plenty of Moiras who are hard stuck at their rank, wherever that may be. You are once again playing in plat, so your game sense and decision making do not require much effort to sustain.
There are plenty of Moiras who are hard stuck in plat, but again, like, you refuse to address any of my points. Maybe you don't refuse, but maybe it just goes over your head, I'm not sure, okay? My point is that, again, in this statement, players are climbing and cheating the system because these abilities are doing the work for them. It doesn't matter if 50% of Moiras are still hard stuck in plat. If 50% of the other Moiras climb for free, that is the problem. That is the problem. It's not that people, like, it doesn't matter that other people are hard stuck. It's like old Mercy Res, right? Like, it honestly is the same. You have, like, you literally would just go in and res, and it doesn't require any mechanics, And because you just sat there and used your ability, you had major impact on the fight. Then all these Mercy players are all of a sudden top 500. And guess where a lot of them are now? Like, she's not freaking free value in like Masters or Diamond even. And nothing against those Mercy players, I'm not trying to flame. I think Mercy nowadays is definitely a tough character to play. So I have a lot of respect for high-level Mercy players. You have to have really good movement, and you have to be really smart about where you're playing and game sense. It's required with how her kit is designed now. I want the same thing to happen to Moira.
You claim that you are rewarded for using abilities rather than skillfully using them, and that Moira does too much damage in combination with her duty of main healer. After watching this round, I will say that those damage numbers are not even close to what you could have been providing given your relative skill compared to these players.
Exactly!
I post similar numbers in GM that you get in Plat. The higher you climb, the more difficult it is to pull off crazy plays like this. Of course, you didn't have to take into account every single ability usage in this game. You also bring up again that Moira has a lack of required mechanical skill to be effective. This could be said for a lot of heroes in the game, but let's ignore that for a second. Not once did I see any animation cancels or optimizations in damage or healing this game. You just coasted along with your team. I really only saw one aggressive coalescence. Your Moira playstyle is super passive. This is why you think she is brainless, because you choose to play her in a brainless manner. You are not using her to her potential, so it would make sense that you feel underwhelmed by the experience. You also have a fairly competent team that is providing consistent DPS and good tanking.
Oh my god, he just doesn't get it, Chad. Okay, I don't think Moira is inherently brainless, okay? It's like when people call Brig brainless, okay? And I had to play Brig professionally for 6 months, okay? Right? What people said was brainless about Brig, and what you're not understanding is that it wasn't that Brig's character was inherently brainless. Of course it's harder at the highest level play. Of course there's better things I can do on Moira. The point is that her ability is brainless, okay? Brig was brainless because you got value from just sitting there and not actually doing anything, right? If you were tanking and you simply hit one button and you got one flail off, you were getting immense value and having a lot of shutdown potential. The part of Moira that's brainless, that I say is brainless, is her damage orb and her ability to farm her ult and get consistent damage off pre-fight, okay? It doesn't require a brain. It's too forgiving while being super easy and still being very effective.
50 DPS. It's not that hard to play around. I don't think I've ever heard a serious complaint about damage orb from a high-ranked player.
This guy lives in Bikini Bottom. Are you freaking kidding me? You've never heard a complaint about damage orb? Everybody complains about damage orb. Everybody does. Literally every single player that's not a Moira main complains about damage orb. All of them.
The global ult charge nerf was really not that big of a change.
Global ult charge nerf wasn't that big of a change? What? Are you kidding me? It might not seem like it, but here's why, okay? Characters that are reliant on their ult, right? It takes a long time to build up those ultimates. It's not easy to do, right? For example, Genji. Genji has lost all of his 1v1 potential based off characters like Moira being added, Brig being added, like Doomfist being added, etc., etc. He can't duel people anymore. His shurikens are weak, and even if they do hit, if they're like, you know, you're like poking somebody, like shooting them with a Nerf gun, like it's not gonna do damage, right? The only thing he's good for is his ultimate, okay? If the charge rate and time it takes to get that ultimate is increased, even so slightly, that's 1 or 2 team fights, longer time if you're doing a set amount of damage. Say you're doing like, I don't know, 1k damage in a fight, and you have to get 6k damage to get your ult. This is just completely out of my ass, by the way, so don't take it for, you know, don't take it literally. A 12% increase means that if you die early in a fight or anything like that, like, you're gonna get inherently less value from your hero, okay? Making picks like that much riskier. So if Moira, for example, a hero that gets her ult quickly while like just spamming abilities, it'll make her pick rate way safer and way more consistent, right? So to say the ult charge rate wasn't that big of a deal, you just don't understand Overwatch, or at least at the highest level of play. I guarantee you any pro will tell you that's an impactful change, and sure, it's not like, oh my god, this is gonna completely turn the meta upside on its head, but it solidifies this meta.
Lack an understanding of Moira's hero design. She's supposed to be able to ward off flankers and hold her own in duels. If you are dueling a Moira 1v1, you already messed up.
If you're dueling a Moira one-on-one, you already messed up.
Don't blame the character's design for your bad choices.
Dude, no, you did not just say that. You didn't. You did not just say that. No. I need a second. She's a support that has mobility and burst healing. Her drop off is that she shouldn't be able to do a ton of easy damage, which this damage orb enables, okay? That's literally like saying, oh, if you're, like old Brig was fine because if you're a flanker or like a DPS and you're trying to 1v1 a Brig who was a support, you've already lost that fight and you shouldn't be doing that. Don't blame the hero design for that. That's your poor choice. That's ridiculous. It's poor design. You just never address the fact that this ability takes no skill and it gives too much value. It's just, you never even acknowledge it. So, we'll move on. 11%. I get like 11% on a like 6 or 7 second cooldown just by looking in their direction and doing that.
Nice exaggeration. The actual numbers are 8 to 9% ult charged on a 10-second cooldown.
Oh man, dude, it's not, no. Oh, nice exaggeration, dude. It's not 12%, it's 10. Your point is completely invalid and it makes no difference at all. Like, okay, you know what, dude? Sure, it only gives 10%, not 12, dude. That's really a difference maker, yeah. Instead of 10 or 12% free value that requires absolutely no skill at all, it's 10%. Nice exaggeration. You're not on fire. Your point's invalid.
Much of the damage you're providing is trash damage to build up your ult. You could be securing way more kills had you been playing more aggressively. All because a Moira has high damage does not mean she is playing optimally.
That's true. That's true, but to say the damage is useless is just not right. It's farming my ult. It's putting pressure on them. It's negating their healing constantly. Like, even if I like barely negate a small amount of healing every fight, that's really, really strong and it'll help my DPS a ton. And if it farms my ult incredibly fast, to say that it's not like valuable is just inaccurate. Obviously, like I could play better. Like I agree with you. Like I'm not that great of a Moira. But the point of this video is that Moira is too easy for being too good. Not that I'm like some insane Moira trying to show that she's like super broken or something. It's not like you're critiquing my Moira play, which I guess thank you for that. But again, like the point just goes right over your head of this video.
Personally, I would not be opposed to tightening the aim requirement on Moira's weapon and giving it more potency. Perhaps the closer the center of the beam is to the enemy, the more damage it does.
Or, like every other beam in the game, in order to do the damage at all, you should actually have to have your crosshair on the player. Just a thought. Just a thought. You know, just throwing it out there. By the way, chat, that's the first time he actually addressed any of my points, and he agreed with me that it wouldn't be bad for a rework. It'd probably be better for the game. Monkey's very different.
Well, you are spamming your abilities down along the sight line, just like everyone else on your team.
Yes, everyone else on my team is spamming down long sight lines, okay? The only one that has an AoE ability is Sigma, okay? Which I think should be nerfed personally. I think that's what makes this kit so strong, which it did get nerfed. Actually, it did get nerfed. But what I'm doing doesn't require aim or anything. I just throw it at this wall and it bounces off and I get the value. It's not comparable to what my teammates are doing. What they're doing requires much more skill than what I'm doing.
Unless you are super precise with an orb, it will most likely be lost after 1 or 2 bounces.
He throws it fucking outside. He literally throws it through the doorway and it bounces back and kills me. That's, it's precision.
Well, the enemy has also not decided to push forward and you have not decided to apply pressure, so there's nothing to do.
Why? Okay, first of all, we could debate game sense all day. That's not the point. It's not the freaking point, okay? Why would I even apply pressure when they're not even pushing in? They're just sitting there and I'm spamming without aiming at anything and I've already got another coalescence.
You could take a more aggressive angle and force the retreat, but you choose to sit there passively spamming orbs.
Yes, why would I force the retreat when they're not pushing? The pressure's on them, they're attacking. If I push in and die, it's a thrown fight. It's not worth the risk. Your damage orb is brain dead and it doesn't require any skill.
If you actually played the hero, I don't think you would have called it a wraith.
Like, what is the point of any of these comments? You have no points at all. You're just critiquing my play. Like, I guess thank you, but like, they just beat around the bush. They never address it, ever. It doesn't require any mechanics at all. I guess, but Moira shouldn't be the one doing that.
Better mechanics on Moira provide more value in damage and healing. This is not debatable.
Yeah, true. The better you are mechanically, the more damage you do. That's true for any character. Yeah, man.
See, this Mercy kill took a decent amount of tracking. Now try it against the top 500 Mercy who actually knows evasive movement techniques.
Yeah, she'd still die. For one, my problem with Moira isn't her coalescence, it's her damage orb. So yeah, you actually do have to track a Mercy out of the sky. That did require a lot of mechanical skill. You have to have good tracking, and it's an ultimate. It's very different from a random orb that you just have to right-click at walls to get value from. That right there is my problem. I'm just honestly, chat, the better player.
Yes, you are the better player. You are a top 500 DPS playing in plat.
He's right, he's right. Oh my goodness. I couldn't put up numbers like that on any other character while those characters are more difficult to play. I'm curious
I think you could carry harder on any DPS. You could have provided much.
Okay, but we're not talking about DPS, we're talking about supports. We're talking about Moira compared to other supports in her category.
More value from being more aggressive.
This is faulty game design and a fault in the meta that needs to be patched out to maintain balance in the game and fair play in the game.
Overarching conclusive statement that doesn't really mean anything.
How does that not mean anything? How is having a character that requires no mechanics to get value from be meta not mean anything? It breaks the system. It breaks the system. If you allow players to like jump the learning curve because the abilities do the work for the player the same way old Mercy did, it breaks the system. And the tank and SR that a lot of Mercy players had directly after the nerfs prove that. It absolutely means something. Because players are able to bypass skill because the character is overtuned. That's a problem with the meta and the game design, and it needs to be patched. Is that it?
I hope you guys enjoyed my critique of Samito's video. Please do not take this video as an excuse to harass him. I will not tolerate any harassment.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, I don't want you all harassing Tesla. For one, it takes a lot of courage to actually come out and make a video like that, so mad respect for that. Two, it was a healthy discussion. Sure, we have disagreements on our points, 100%, but I respect like that somebody would actually like try to make a video and make the effort, chat. If you all harass somebody for making the effort and doing the right thing, then you're the problem. So don't, if I see you all like harassing this person, I'm gonna get pissed off. Like that's messed up, don't do it. It's one thing to have like heated debate back and forth like about a take. That's all fun and banter in my opinion, but actually going after somebody as a person when they're making the effort to make content is fucked up, and I expect you guys to be more mature and not to do that, because that's messed up. And honestly, as a creator, I've been on the receiving end of that many times, and I expect more out of you guys, so please don't do that. However, if he's open to having discussion with you guys about his takes, and you want to do it respectfully, by all means, go ahead and do that. In conclusion, Tesla, you missed all of my points in the videos. You didn't address a single one of the points that I made. I appreciate the critique about the Moira play, but it's just very off topic and it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually change anything that I said. My point was that Moira, her damage orb in particular, gives too much value while requiring no mechanics. And that is what's making this kit so overwhelming and makes it like so mechanically forgiving, okay? This ability needs to get removed or reworked entirely, okay? Saying the things that you said in this video, saying, first of all, to say that Ana, like Moira is the same level of mechanics as Ana and other main supports, it's just simply inaccurate. It's not even close to as accurate, okay? Moira's value and the skill in Moira comes from your ability to use your mechanics, or your abilities mid-fight and heal a ton. That's like what her kit is designed to do. And the damage orb is just so overwhelming as an ability to quickly farm ultimates, and it doesn't require anything out of the player. To say that the damage orb requires any mechanics, it's just not accurate. It's ridiculous. It's no skill, 90% RNG, 10% aim it. Okay, it's way too lopsided of a ratio. If I were Blizzard, I think I would either personally, I don't think it should be in the game at all. Two, rework it to maybe just have it like charge her healing and change the way her healing charges over time. I think that might be better, and just have it be something that you spam just to get more healing back. Moira should be a heal bot, and then maybe they could revert the nerf they did to her, like her grasp or whatever, if she doesn't have the damage orb anymore, because I don't think that's the proper way to go for her kit. I think she should still be viable in death ball comps and being able to heal tanky compositions and high sustained characters like Reaper and May. That's what she should be designed to be good in. But her damage is just ridiculous right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So thank you for the video. I appreciate it, but you didn't address any of my points. The one time you did address my point, you kind of agreed that it could be reworked into something better, and the rest of it was kind of just critiquing my Moira play with some hot takes about, you know, how much skill Moira requires. So appreciate it, but I don't know what I expected. I should not have expected anything more than that. But all right, let's go, chat. I'm done with it for now.